Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and I am fascinated. I'm fascinated with this segment of comic fandom, which is sad old men who hate everything. Uh, on one hand, because it's such a cliche. On the other one, because I keep getting shouted down in the same way I get shouted down about everything. And then a few years ago, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you're right. It's been a pattern. Just get on board." Yeah, I've been wrong about some things. I thought Black Label was gonna really revolutionized the industry. I said black people don't listen to De La Soul at picnics, and they do. Um, but generally, I tend to be right. So why am I always getting all this pushback? But the pushback on Ripper versus Awful has disappeared. I'm still getting some, but a lot less than usual when I talk about Wes and that crew. Their crew is kind of different than the Birthday Party Clowns. I don't have a name for them yet. Old man yells at cloud, whatever. But what is fascinating is I was just preparing to do this video, and I was talking to a friend, and he literally said the point I was going to make. I was like, oh, this must be in the ether. And he was talking about they have a very particular way of talking in which any compliment is really just a way to insult everyone else. It's like everything is built around hating things. Somebody who is now my mortal enemy now, because they made me watch an hour of Wes talking to Mark Millar. I forget the even reason that he steered me to the video. So I watched the whole thing, and it was like staring into the mouth of madness. There was nothing there. The only point, and Mark seems to have that. Well, he's a good schmoozer that's going to help him talking to people. So he kind of quickly susses out who he's talking to and then kind of dials it in for that. So every single thing, well, first of all, I don't, and it's not just Wes, it's a whole group of people. It's, on the panels and his viewers, these are a group of unhappy middle-aged men who have no personality, and their entire conversation is just repeating things that they've said a million times. So the conversation with Lowell, and he'd be like, "Don't you hate Star Wars now?" And it was like, how many million times have we had a conversation? There hasn't been a Star Wars movie in like 6 years. And then it's like, yeah, because they're all bad, right? So it's this weird, it's the pattern is emerging. So there's a couple of ways to note this group. Number one is their brave stance is to like things that everyone else liked and use the best things ever to make everything look terrible. So it's like, I like Raiders of the Lost Ark. All the other movies are trash. And it's just like, okay, that was one of the best movies ever. Other movies not being as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark doesn't mean that they're terrible. It just means they're not perfect. The other one is they seemingly at random all love the Lord of the Rings movies, while never really talking about them except for saying that they love them and they watch them like every year. And this is Wes, this is Nerdrotic, this is like the thing. This is like, oh, we aren't just middle-aged men who hate everything. We love these movies from 30 years ago. Sorry, 25 years ago. No, that's not an end run against the accusation that you're old men who hate everything new. So Lord of the Rings is sacrosanct, even though every conversation about watching Lord of the Rings is a discussion of how utterly excruciating it is to watch all of them because they're so damn long, which would, undermine the idea that these are perfect movies. You're never looking at your watch during Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And famously, The Lord of the Rings has extended editions, which turn this into some sort of like geek endurance test. So no, I don't believe you really love them. I believe it's a safe bet for mediocre, bland men to have common conversations about. And I mean, that one with Mark, I mean, Mark has thoughts and beliefs and ideas, and it was just trapped in an hour of like, things are woke. There was a great bit on SNL. It was called The Chris Farley Show. and he would just have like Paul McCartney on, and he'd be like, "Do you remember when you were in the Beatles?" Like just nothing, no contribution, no thought, no brainwave activity, just complete flatline. But as I've said before, comics as an art form, as a medium, as an industry has never had one bit of self-respect, to the point where it would just kick people out who are obviously malicious, obviously hating everything, obviously lying. At one point, you know, because Mark Millar always likes to talk about, like, oh, I got into comics and I would go down the lane and that type of stuff. Wes has nothing. Wes started collecting when, like, Obama was president. He was in his, like, mid-30s. So at one point, because one of the things, you know, Mark always tries to find, like, commonality when he talks. He's like, oh, you were probably like me and you started collecting like this. And then Wes goes, I grew up in a farming community, so we didn't really have access to comics. I'm like, oh, I'm almost doing like a Randy Macho Man. I'm about to cut a promo. You said you grew up in the Midwest in the 1980s and didn't have access to motherfucker. Bullshit. 100% lie. Every fucking small town in America had a convenience store, had a mom and pop store, had some kind of store with a spinner rack. I was talking to someone else. I was like, Wes is such a fake geek that he probably thinks spinner racks are like an urban myth, like the Loch Ness Monster. No, they had them everywhere. And it said, hey kids, and then 2 exclamation points, oddly, and it said comics, so it doesn't really flow. That should have been a different spot on there. But they were everywhere. Every small city. Like, you had access to comics, you just didn't like them. What happened is you finished up your time in the Air Force. You didn't really have hobbies. You didn't really have interests. And the whole SJW era was making notice. You're like, oh, I can come here and I can pretend to be one of these people. I don't like things that are woke. It's like those freaking cartoons where they have to like sneak into the enemy camp and they just start like spouting the slogans that are popular at the time. It's like, no, you are a liar. You lie a lot. You lie all the fucking time. The town without comics? That is fucking bullshit. The smallest of small towns had some mom and pop store with a freaking spinner rack. It doesn't matter where you were in America. Because that was the thing. Back in the day, people used to do the trips to grandma's house. And you would always stop at a gas station, at a mom and pop store, at a drugstore, and it was literally shut up. It was like the iPad kids of the 1980s. It's like, and parents would always buy. Since they didn't like comics, they would buy an insane. It's like, it would be like one of those Archie books, but not like the main ones. There were like other ones, just weird ones, off-brand, well, on-brand, off-brand art. It's like, here's a Wonder Woman, an Archie comic, X-Men, US1, and G.I. Joe. You're like, okay, so I got one comic to read. But usually, you know, you'd have younger siblings and they just, woo, so you hand them the shitty Archie comic. Bullshit. Just straight up lying. But yeah, so it's these empty middle-aged men who don't like anything and they find a bond together. And so I'll see the super chats and they're always, hey, can you say this negative thing I believe? Hey, comics used to be good, but now they're terrible. Except for in a few hours, he's going to do a video that says 5 to 10 excellent comics came out this week. So there's all these signs from the man from the town with no comics. Just fucking, but I mean, but if you're just a bland, mediocre, middle-aged man who just hates everything, comics fandom, especially online fandom, is really the place for you, because you can always just walk up and be like, hey, did you know that it lost 100? And all the sad sack middle. Oh, yeah, I heard it lost 200 million. I heard 300. My sources say 1 million. And it's just guys without friends. Listen, it's just boring guys without friends. So they just decided to come over to comics because comics is always so desperate for anyone that it doesn't gatekeep a bit. Like it doesn't nothing. So that's how you get all these guys interviewing Mark Millar and having nothing to say. Like, what a primo opportunity that is. It's like the Marvel movies are bad, right? I'm surprised. I'm surprised he didn't look at Mark Millar and say, "Do you remember when you were in the Beatles?" Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.